Welcome to EnigmaCast, everybody. And tonight I got another special guest that I've been going back and forth with on Facebook. And I'm very excited to have her on. She's going to tell us some amazing stories. I'm not going to steal her thunder at all. And her name is Donna Copas. Did I get that right, Donna?
Yes, that's right.
And we were just having a good conversation before the wrap up here. And I think, Donna, I want to thank you so much again for coming on the show. Thank you for being patient with me to get you in here. So, Donna, please tell my listeners all about you.
I live in the country. My name's Donna Copas. I'm of Shawnee descent. Well, the first time I saw the Watchers, there was a county fair in town, and I was 6 years old, and I wanted to go to the fair. Well, my dad's rules was, he'd give me whatever I wanted, but you have to earn so much of your money. That's just the way it was. You taught responsibility from an early age and respect. And so he told me, he took me out, and we was digging a big patch of yellow root, which, we saw. Dad dug everything, every kind of root there was, but on this day it was yellow root. And we'd taken along, of course, we was on a farm, so we had cattle or whatever, so the feed sack, the burlap feed sacks, we had 200-pound sacks with us, and we sat in a big patch of yellow root, and we've been digging. Well, Dad was mostly digging. I was cleaning. You have to take the tops from the roots, and the roots are like long, spidery like roots, so you shake the dirt out and clean them. You have to wash them later, but you get as much dirt off as you can. So I was sitting there doing that and separating, and then my dad, he chewed tobacco. We grew tobacco, so he would get the long green from the barn, and of course he wore bib overalls, and he got up and he walked over this big stump beside where we were digging, and he walked over to that stump and he laid his tobacco up on that stump. And Dad didn't call me Donna, or he was either Donnie Ann or he called me Dookie. And he said, "Come on, we're going to go." And of course, me being a kid, I didn't want to go. I'm making money for the fair, and that was my whole incentive right there. So he's like, "Nah, come on now, we're going to go." And he picked up his sacks, got me by the hand, and I'm still whining, dig my toe in the dirt. And he said, "Now, come on, we're going to go." And when I heard that tone of voice, that meant, "Come on, we're going to go." And as we walked away, I turned around and I looked back, and right there, not 30 feet from where we were sitting digging, this massive black figure stood up, literally 8 foot tall. To me, it looked like a mountain because, I'm 6 years old. I'm a little kid. And of course, now I'm scared, and I'm pulling on Dad's hand, and he kind of shook my hand. He said, "Now, come on now, you leave him alone, he'll leave you alone. We're going to go." Wow. And and as we walked away, it took that tobacco, and then it walked up through the woods. It's tall cliffs back in the back of where we were digging. And he walked back up in the woods, and we come home. But I think that was Dad's way of introducing me that day, because Dad grew up with him too, as his mom did, generation to generation. And from then on, that was that's when my schooling started. He taught me the markers, how they use the stones to mark with, the tree shelters. He taught me to be respectful, and that was, he basically taught me how to live among them and be safe. You leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. You be respectful. Don't do anything to harm them, and they won't do anything to harm you. Of course, he did gifting. He did different things. The tobacco thing was a pretty common for him. But also my grandma, she always baked the apple cakes, and that's where I got it from. I do the same thing. They're homemade. You cook the apples, it's all made from homemade. It's apple, and then I use applesauce for the icing, so I make these big cakes. And that's she did that too. So that was my first experience. But I was always in the woods. I was a wild child. My poor grandma. Oh my gosh. I told my dad in the first grade, I hated school so bad. I didn't like being inside. Schoolwork didn't bother me. There was a whiz for me. I didn't have any problem. But I just did not like being pinned up inside of a building. And so I told Dad, I was like, "Dad, you buy me a pony, I'll go to school." Well, bless his heart, he bought me a pony, pretty slow white pony ever was. And I went to school for 3 days, then I ran off on a pony.
Well, yeah, you went to school though, hey, so you kept her in, right?
Yeah. But that was the woods were my playground. This was 300 acres of freedom. We had orchards. We had 11 acres, just a berry patch. It was our 11 acres. Our gardens were fields because they fed us. Everything we needed came from the farm, the cattle, the hogs. Everything was there. The chickens, we did it all. And so running through the woods was just common for me. Back then, you didn't have to worry about anybody bothering you. You were free, and the animals, you just, like I said, I was with Dad. I was taught to shoot, I was taught to hunt. I used a gun. I was little. I mean, you're getting taught proper safety, it wasn't like he handed me a gun and set me out in the, you're taught how to do everything. And that's how I grew up. I mean, I had 2 older brothers, so, being the little sister, I had to keep up with them boys. If they did it, I had to do it. That was just the way it was. And so I over the years, it wasn't like I seen them every day. I knew they were around because they would interact with Dad and different things. But, he went on with my education of, how to behave and to not be, the thing was to not be afraid, stay calm, never run, because you don't run. If you run, you become prey to, any kind of animal. If it's a bear or a coyote, you run, you're then your prey. So, and like, it went on that way. And right up to today, I still have interactions with them. Dad passed away a few years ago, and of course I took care of my mom and dad, my grandma, up until they passed away. And the last 2 years of Dad's life were the best because I never left him at all. I cared for him hand and foot, and everything that he hadn't taught me as a child, I got the benefits of his knowledge and him teaching me and explaining. So that's kind of been my life.
Wow.
Over my, I never had a like violent experience. I've had a couple close encounters. Really, I didn't blame them. It was somebody else that had set them off, or something else that had set them off. But I had a couple. Probably more than a couple, but a few times. Just like everything else, that's how Dad explained it. He said, you got to think of it. We have bad days. We get out of bed, we're mad at something's irritated us, we're aggravated over something. So maybe just stumps your big toe, whatever.
Right.
He's like, they're the same way. Something is irritating them, something's too close. So you always have to look out for that. And so I've I think one of the one times that kind of ingrained in me, I was about 12. And again, I went to the barn because, of course, I had my pony, but my brother, of course, he had a bigger one. And I'd always steal his. He'd be gone, so I would take his. And went that day, and I was in the barn. I never used a saddle or bridle. Mostly I would just take the binder twine off of the hay bales, what's wraps the hay bales in. And I would just take them in, and I'd loop it around the nose and round and, pull it. And I would use that to ride with. And, but that day I'd actually put the saddle and the bridle on. And as I would go down, there's a creek where I would go and play. Of course, back then there wasn't no air conditioners. You're lucky if you had a fan.
Correct.
And you found a shade tree or saying that creek, I would go down to that creek. There's a little waterfalls like, and then the bed of the creek was like the blue clay, where it's real smooth. And there's a big rock off this side, and I'd go there and lay in that rock, in that water. It was only about, maybe 12 inches deep. It wasn't deep. And read my book or whatever. Of course, I had real long hair. And my grandma would braid my hair so tight that, the hair on the back of your neck sticks up. And then she would take strips of cloth and she'd tear them and braid it into my hair and wrap it. Because I was awful. I ran the woods. I have a couple birds in my hair, sticks, and, all that. She would do that to, try to, basically try to keep it from getting down. And but as soon as I got to that creek, first thing I did was take my hair down. I always did. And I'd taken my hair down, and I laid those strings up on the rock beside where I was in the water. And I fell asleep. I mean, it wasn't uncommon for me to just, because I actually stacked some rocks up. I mean, head wasn't going to get in the water, but I could lay there and the water run over me. But on this day, I kind of fell asleep and I looked over and my ribbons were gone. And I thought, my brothers was always torturing me. They've done something they knew. My grandma, Ma, I told her, Ma, if I came back without them, I'm going to get a switching. Because she put switch to you, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah. For taking the hair down. And I'm thinking, oh, man, of course, it was getting evening time. I was there was cedar grove around where the creek was. And I looked up through there and I seen those ribbons moving through the shadows. And first that was I'm thinking my brothers. And then I see the big shadow of what's carrying them. And I'm thinking, okay, well, so when I brought the pony down, I just, I dropped the bit and just kind of ground time and let him, he would just graze around in the grass there or whatever. And he never went very far. So I went and got him and I came on home. Of course, like I said, nothing kept me from my woods. It was my woods. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be there. And the next day when I went back on that rock where he'd taken my, those strings from, he left behind an arrow straightener. Which is, of course, like I said, we're Shawnee, so nap the arrowheads, and then the shaft of the arrows, just you cut a branch, and then the arrow straightener is a rock, and it's got a hole in the middle, and you run that up and down the shaft, and then it heats the shaft, and then it straightens it, and of course, you put your feathers on the end, but, and there was some shells and just different little rocks laying there. So Dad's like, well, he just give you, I told Dad, and he's like, well, he took them, but he left you something behind. And like I said, nothing kept me from my creek. And I went back, and again, this time, I fell asleep, but when I woke up, I was no longer in the creek where I had been. I'd been moved up onto that rock. I didn't wake up. Which is uncommon for me because, I grew up on a farm. At least little thing wake me up.
Right.
I didn't wake up. And I wasn't hurt. I wasn't scratched. I wasn't hurt in any way. Nothing. I'd just been moved. And then I realized, over the years, they have the ability to go to sleep for, it's like an emotional, I hear the hum, like the electrical hum and that kind of thing. But it's like they do have that ability to.
Wow. So Donna,
that was.
I'm sorry, guys. I have some questions if you don't mind.
Sure.
So, do you think this was the same watcher that your dad introduced you to 6 years earlier, or do you think there was multiple ones in your area? Because 300 acres is huge.
Yeah. No, there's more than one. The one that Dad showed me was his, because Dad grew up. It's like for us, they imprint or bond to us. We'll have one that is specifically ours. And Dad's is still alive, believe it or not. Dad passed away, but he would have been 100. But the one that he's still around. When I moved Dad from the farm. I moved Mom first. She got sick first. When I moved Dad, he had a stroke, so he couldn't get around very good. And I brought him here. And I'd lost my husband and son years ago, in a car accident. So I moved off my farm where I raised my kids at, and I bought this place, and I moved here. So when Dad got sick, he promised to move off the farm years earlier, but he didn't. He waited till the last dog died, and yeah, he was. I literally carried him out. Then that's when he came here because he couldn't have any other choice. But within not even a month of me having Dad here, I bought vacant property, and I set it. My water comes from springs. I don't have city water or anything like that. I have my cabins, but at that time I built my house back against the woods, and my bedroom was glass. I had big plate glass windows. I like the woods. I like to be able to see the woods. I had a door in there, and I would just put the windows up and open. I didn't have to have an air conditioner because I have a big creek and the water from the springs, and it stays cool. And like I said, I brought Dad, and it just wasn't a month. And the first night, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. The smell woke me up because I had my doors and windows open, and it was like the really yucky. When I first woke up, I thought, oh man, the septic line has broke or something, because that's how bad it was. And I didn't see anything, I didn't see anything, and then the smell went away, and so I thought, okay, well, maybe it's coyotes. Coyotes stinks. The next night again, still didn't see anything. The third night, because you got to think, my whole wall is glass, and then my door beside my bed, it had the old time screen door in it. Just screen. It don't have glass. It's like with the little latchy thing, the old time. And it was open, and there between that screen door and that big window, I see the black shadow, the shape. Well, I got up and closed my door because my first thought was because we have bear here, a coyote, bear, bobcat, and I thought it's a bear, and still, went on through the night. But the next night, I would have to go at midnight. I would go down and put Dad to bed. He wouldn't go to bed till midnight because he wanted to watch the news. He had his routine and all that. So, but I would walk from my house, which was just short distance, to the trailer where he was at. And of course, I carry a gun. I'm in the woods, so I got coyotes, and so I carry a pistol. And as I come out, I'd left a big, huge cedar tree in the edge of my yard, basically for shade. I love my trees and my woods. And I seen a dark figure there behind that tree, and I got a whiff. And again, in my mind, I'm thinking, it's a bear. I'm like, oh, it's a bear there. So I didn't run. I did what I've been taught. I moseyed on, and I get in the house, and Dad goes, what in the world's wrong with you? You done went crazy or what? I was like, there's a bear out there, Dad. He said, you show me. Where's your bear? And I had to help him to the door. And he looked out, and he goes, you leave him alone, he'll leave you alone. He's not doing anything but watch him. And I said, it's clicking in my head. I said, Dad, you mean to come here? And he said, yeah, he's just watching. So every night, stand there, I'd go at midnight, and it would stay there till around 3 in the morning. And it would just stand. I watched to see. Never bothered anything. Never heard anything. And then it went on about 3 months. And again, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I hear these outrageous, horrible screams, like an elephant trumpeting, and the horrible, like growls. And of course, I jump up and I run to the door. And I have a British Enfield. It's a 303, and I've got armor piercing shell. I can blow up a block. It sits there, but I didn't pick it up. I just went out the door. I'm thinking, what the hell? When I moved Dad, he had a hog left. It was a sow, and now she's a big, full-grown sow hog, about 400 pounds. It's a big hog. So you know how high her pen had to be. But when she came up, she's way taller than I ever dared to be. I'm only 5'3", and So, but I heard that, and I went down. When I go down, I have a creek and a bridge I have to cross. Her pen was down by that. And I went down, I was there by the pen, and I'm still hearing them screaming, like up in the woods. Like I said, I'm surrounded by woods. And in my mind, I'm thinking, hey, dummy, you're out here. Nobody knows you're out here. Dad can't get out to help you. I'm barefooted in a nightgown, no gun. For some stupid reason, the person that carries a gun to go to the bathroom don't have a gun. So I get back to the house. So I go back in, and that's screaming and screaming. And I stood at the door. And when I moved, Dad had it was a bull mass and a pit bull mix, old Jake, and he was an old dog, but he's a big dog. And that I hear that go through the pig, past where the pig pen was, and through the creek and down to the bottom properties where the chicken coops were. And I hear the crashing, and then I hear Jake scream. Now, my inclination is, you go help the dog.
Right.
I was at the door, and I'm not a fearful person. I mean, I go to the woods. I do what I couldn't go out the door. It was like if something physically stopped me from going through that door.
Right.
I could not move. And I hear him screaming and screaming, and then I hear it screaming and growling, and then it moved on down. When you go down the road, like I said, we're still in the country, but if you go on down, at the end of the road, there's an older lady she's passed away now, but she lived there, and she had little dogs, and she called the cops and here, they came out, and the deputy is like, oh, you just heard coyotes. It's coyotes. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, whatever you think, I ain't gonna argue about it, but no coyote I ever heard, and I've lived in the country my whole life. But it traveled up through, all the way up, it went on up about 6 miles on up. You go back in a holler, and that's where my daughter lives at the end of that. That's where her home is. Behind that is 400-acre woods. It's not been touched in a well over 200 years. Mm-hmm. It's actually part of the Shawnee grounds. We don't own it. Of course, we don't own it no more. It was taken and sold over. That's where it ended up at. But all the way up through there, people's dogs, it wasn't just, me hearing it or whatever. The dogs were being attacked. And that's where he ended up at. And to this day, I have talked about it with different people. And somebody had actually came up with kind of a logical explanation, maybe. Because the next night, Dad's watcher is back. Calm. No ruckus, no problem whatsoever, just like he always was. So I thought, well, either something made him mad, he was fighting with something, or I couldn't understand. But where he stepped over in that pig pen, of course, hog pen, mud is soft. Mm-hmm. He left footprints. He stepped again, and then stepped over the side. And I cast them. They were 18 inches long, about 9 wide. And I had those up to about 3 years ago in my big house. My brother's cabin caught on fire, and it spread to my big house. So I'm no longer up there. I got a smaller cabin down closer to the road. But they burned up in that cabin, or up in my house. But that's how big the footprint was through the hog pen. And then actually just a few nights ago, another gentleman I was talking to, he said, would it have been possible that was he fighting with like a Dogman or something? And because I've never seen to talk about Dogman, and I know the lores and the Shawnee story of how they were created, but I've never seen one. I had different theories on that. But in October of last year, again, I hike. I'll do a 10-mile hike. I'll go back in the woods. I'll spend the night, sometimes myself. But on this date, there was another girl. Well, there was 2 girls, but the one wanted to take me to one of her places, which I'd never been to before. And it's not even around here. It's not around where I live. But she wanted to show it to me, and we went. And we went back about 6 miles back in the woods. It was a long hike. I mean, we just goofed off, had fun. Did see a lot of signs, though, you know, the X's, there was some Y's there, that kind of thing. And I found a couple footprints. So, you know, it's getting evening time. Wasn't dark, but it was getting late. And the only way for us to come back out, we had to come back down a trail that took us back to the car. And as we came down the trail, I looked ahead of us, and my first thought was it was like a big tom turkey, you know, it's a big, huge black thing on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, I said, is that a turkey? Well, I didn't have a phone, or I don't carry a phone or anything. I carry my gun with me, but I don't carry no, because you don't get no service anyway. And she had her phone, you know, and it has a good camera and stuff on it. She's looking, and she's like, I don't know what it is. I can't see. And we went farther, and then the third girl, she's like, I see it. What is that? And I'm like, I don't know, but I was beginning to get a little concerned because it was getting, as we moved, it was getting bigger as we moved closer, because we were farther away, I guess, than what we were realizing. And there was a log across the road we had to climb over, and we did that. And off to the right, there was a deer, and she jumped up and ran off into the woods. And then I see, it looks like a German Shepherd's head, you know. It's, but you know how a dog will track with his nose to the ground, you know, back and forwards like it's catching a scent. And because she goes, oh my gosh, I hope somebody didn't throw a dog out down there, or, you know, just abandoned or whatever. But we're all getting concerned because we got to go past where that is, and it's still a ways, and we have to. We're not going to spend the night in the woods, you know. Right. So we just moving, and the closer we get, the bigger it gets. And finally, we were within range. It came up, and it came up on 2 legs. And still in my mind, I'm thinking, is it a dog, and somebody's playing ball with it, making it jump up, you know? Because you're trying to rationalize, you know, or I do. I try to think of that before I think of other stuff. But it came up on 2 legs, and it walked off of the path into the woods in the direction where that deer went. That's the direction it went. And everything was stone silent. There was no bugs. There was no birds. And every hair, by this time, you know, I pulled my pouch around. I carry a 380. And then I flipped the safety, and I got other clips in there. So I've already got it, and I got my hand on it. And the other girl, she's looking for a stick, because I'm getting older. I use a walking staff. And she found this little stick about this long, and I'm thinking, all that's going to do is be a chew toy. But my 380 would not have been anything. This thing is the size of a man, and it's on 2 legs. So but like I said, we didn't have any choice. We had to come through but it went into the woods. We got through, and when I get up to the car, I had my daughter's, and she has a new car, SUV, and I'm hitting the button to try to unlock the door. It won't unlock. The key fob is dead. It won't work. So it's like a horror movie where you got the key and you're trying to unlock the door. Yeah. And she's like, I gotta pee. I was like, you pee. I'm getting in. I'm getting in the car. I'm closing the door, because from the size of that thing, it can rip the door off. Just want to get out of here. Right. So that was, I seen that, and it's like, well, was that a Dogman sighting? But in my mind, I'm still trying to rationalize, you know. I don't know. All I know is if it was a dog, it walked on 2 legs. It was on 4, and it came up, which was very concerning. So then the gentleman the other night, he said, well, do you think that when that happened with your dad, could it possibly have been like his watcher was fighting like a dog man or something like that? You know, so I don't know. I just know that the dogs were attacked. Jake, I found him the next day. He was alive. Amazingly, he was alive, but he had these punctures, like big long teeth punctures, like it picked him up and bit like through his hindquarters and to his private areas. But those holes, these are long holes that you can stick your finger down in.
Yeah.
And that big. So what I see with the watchers, I mean, I see them. I've seen them, I mean, I don't examine their teeth or anything. Like, don't get me wrong, that nothing like that. But I have seen them, and their teeth they're not that long. Not anything I've seen. So I don't know.
No, actually, just to add some more, when you talk to that gentleman the next time you speak to him, a lot of people talk to me. I get a lot of stories and a lot of pattern recognition I have came across is that one that jumps to mind right away is this incident that took place in the land between the lakes down in Kentucky. There is there in that area specifically, and in a few other places actually in southeastern Ohio as well, right?
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Oh,
we've had.
Okay.
Yeah. We're having massive sightings.
Yeah. So southeastern. I didn't know that. So southeastern Ohio, there is a direct correlation between Dogman sightings and Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Watcher sightings, however you want to talk to them. And then I've actually talked to people out of Oklahoma in LaFleur County, and they had told me before that the Bigfoots either are taking it upon themselves or they've always done it, you didn't know about it, but to basically keep these things under control, to like some type of control with them, right? And again, a lot of people don't connect the dots between the two. They treat them as mutually exclusive events, right? And I can get into the reasons why I want a second on that, but no, I actually think that it makes more sense. Yeah, especially now that you tell me where you're at, right? Have you ever spoken with a gentleman named Tim Gayhart by chance?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I'll probably like to send you an email, make an introduction for you. He's done a lot of look into that, and he told me a story one time. He's been on my show. He told me a story one time where he saw 4 of those Dogmen, right, in an area that where heavily Sasquatch sightings were taking place, right, in southeastern Ohio, right, and so you guys probably geographically are a lot closer on that. But that is amazing right there. And as a child, did your father ever talk about these Dogmen or not? Because they seem to be a not relatively new, but more and more frequent things or encounters are happening with these cryptids, for lack of a better word for them. A lot of it has to do with the Earth's energy, I think, changing or waking up or something like that. I think a lot of that has to do it. People call it the thinning of the veil, things like that, right?
Thinning of the veil. Yep, that's what my grandma called it. I think, like here, our woods, that 400-acre tract hasn't been touched in 200 years. They log in it, So now they're coming out more. They're being seen more because their home has been disturbed. They don't have anywhere to go. Last summer, that's when I got more and more here because they moved out. I mean, these timber, this timber, it's $1 million in timber, but that's their home. Right. And like you said, the earth is changing. We always say the earth will reclaim its own. Yeah. And it's claiming its own, in more ways than one. So, the story that was shared with me through the Shawnee story of the Dogman, because we talked with the watchers. The way it was like like I said, these are myths and lores and legends, but the Shawnee say the Moonite people came. They had children with the Shawnee, they left the watchers behind to protect their children. They didn't have children with the watchers. They had children with the Moon-eyed people, which either is another race of people. There's different theories on that. But these watchers were left behind. They're our protectors.
Yeah.
And then this would have been early 1800s. There's a story that was told to me about the watchers, and we had, of course, the shaman, the medicine men. We call them, when they go bad, we call them bruja. They're bad. So there were some that had went bad, and they were using, of course, they have their watchers, you know, just like mine. I have mine that is basically part of me. But because they went bad, theirs turned bad too. They became what they were. And so the good one, you know, they got together, the seers, the seekers, the shaman, the good shaman, to battle them, you know, to battle the bruja, and the bad watchers. And they said they created the Dogmen to help battle them, because no normal man can fight a watcher and win. You know, they're just not possible.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
So, you know, so that was how they said, you know, they were created for. But then I thought, it's like, do you know about the dog soldiers, the native dog soldiers?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you know, they are in wolf hide, and they teeter themselves down, and they fight to the death. Either they win or they're killed. That's the only way they're untethered from their line that they tie themselves down with. But for them to go into battle, you know, the medicine men, you know, the shaman, it's like, just like me, I still use herbs and, you know, the plants, and I still go to the woods and get it. But there's things that you can get. It's just like the drug addicts today that's on the bath salts that thinks they're whatever. There's plants and stuff that will turn a person, you know, mentally, and make them fight more fiercely.
Oh, for sure.
Their inability, you know, anything that, you know, they lose that, and they're just fierce. So I thought, well, is that what that was? But then, you know, there's like, no, it was like a shapeshifter type thing where they turned into these dogmen. Well, it's not really dogmen in the sense, but more wolf. People call them dog, but in reality, from what I hear, you know, it's more like they're wolf, not dog.
Right.
So, you know, it's a different thing. But yeah, of course, I've heard a lot of stories. I've heard a Wendigo story, you know, different things, but it's, you know, the watchers is one thing, you know, but just like Dad said, there's good and bad in everything, no matter who you are or what you are.
Right.
The world, that's the balance in the world. There's good and bad.
Yeah, so it's funny. It's funny too that in Southeast Ohio that you have the Moon-eyed people legend, because I grew up in Upper East Tennessee on the North Carolina Virginia border at the very tip, right smack dab in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains, Cherokee land, 100% Cherokee land, right? And if you follow that slant down on the western North Carolina border, at the bottom of that, when you get down to Georgia, is Choctaw land, right? So the Cherokee and the Choctaw always were, you know, at war for, you know, back then. But they both told in their tribal, there's a city in south of Johnson City called Jonesboro, and once a year they have storytelling, like a storytelling event down in Jonesboro, and that they tell the legend of that Moon-eye story that's passed down, and exactly what you said, how the Moon-eyed people came down, but it's a slight variation between the Cherokee and the Choctaw. When the Cherokee and the Choctaw and their Moon-eyed legend, when the Moon-eyed people started, you know, breeding with their women, the men rose up and attacked them and killed them, right, and drove them away, right, into, you know, and it goes on to, you know, all the other, you know, stuff that goes with it. It's led a lot of people to a lot of people to theorize on what these moon-eyed people actually were, right? But on my channel, there's a premise that I maintain on my channel. At a baseline level, it's something. We can talk about all the time. What is it? Is it this? Is it that? Is it that? We can, you know, conversation is how you explore and how you know, find what it is. But it was definitely something. Like, these things were real. Whatever they were calling the moon-eyed people, it was a legitimate thing, right? And it had the ability to, you know, it was sexually compatible with our women, right? So it had its thing. And it takes me to another, again, I'm going to go full circle here when I come around to it. It brings me to another strange fact about Native American women. And I don't know if you were aware of this or not, but Native American women abductions are the only statistics that the FBI does not track. They don't track it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there is the blood type.
Yes. Correct.
The negative is a big thing. My whole family, you know, my whole family are negatives, right down to, you know, of course, you know, a negative and a positive. If you have a child, you have to be careful. They have the shots now, but the blood can't mix, because if it do, the mom and the baby both can die. And it's the anemia type thing in the blood. It affects all of me, my family. And when you're pregnant, you know, my daughter's blood count dropped to 2. I mean,
wow.
she lived, she had a stroke having my granddaughter. She nearly died. And so, but my whole family is like that. You know, it's not, it's the negative. This all ties together. I do know that. I have researched different things. And there's a poem that was handed down, and I won't say all of it, but it's from out of the darkness and into the light. 3 shall come to carry the light. No other will do, and to this you must be true. For none of the blood, for none other than the blood will ever get through. But it goes on. There's more to it, but it speaks of the blood and how, you know, you have to be true to your blood. So, of course, like I said, I've heard a lot of the old stories, you know, lores and legends, and I try to figure out. Sometimes they have it's like the thinning of the veil. My grandmother, they said, you're born of the veil, you're between the worlds, and you see things that others don't see. So different, you know, and she had that ability, you know, she would know things before they happened, or, you know, I have some of that, because, like I said in earlier, my name is Wabi Ayapia Temponia. I'm the White Wolf Woman, but I'm also the Dreamwalker. That's my title. And sometimes it can, you know, when I was younger, it took a lot of teaching for me to control. At one time, it was I couldn't walk into like a nursing home or a hospital, because the emotions would hit me so bad that I couldn't handle it. And so it took a long time. And I think the hardest lesson for me to learn was I have a temper. And when I was young, I mean, I have a bad temper, but I had to learn to control those emotions. And my temper was the worst of the emotions for me to, and I can, not that I still don't have a temper, God help me, but I'm older. I can hang on to it a little better. But, you know, there's a lot of hard lessons. Let me tell you, I had a lot of hard lessons, but
for sure. But yeah, Donna, I think absolutely that there is definitely a connection. I have this saying I say on my show when I talk to people. I do a funny skit, man, like, you know, the ancient Enigma files, how not to die in the woods, right? And I'd like tell people like I tell these people tips, right? Like, hey, look, you know, don't just think, hey, I'm going to walk off, and, you know, you need to ease into it a little bit. But I also tell people this, man. I say this a lot. Ignore Native American legends at your own risk. For example, if they tell you don't go up on Mount Death after midnight, and you go up there, you get what you get, right? Like I said, you were told don't go up there, right? And so when I hear these tales passed down, and when I look at the lies that were told, and I look at the excuses on, you know, I've asked the question. You know, I lived in Northern Virginia for a good bit, Washington D.C., Maryland, in that area. I've been to D.C. several times. I've actually, you know, I actually was, you know, here's a congressman, Tim Burchett is the congressman of Tennessee. I have his card. I've got pictures with him on all of my accounts. I've had several conversations with him actually about UFOs and UAPs and stuff like that. But I've been around these people. They know a lot more than what they tell other people or what they let on. And if there is a reason why that they don't like to report, or they won't do it, they won't track the number of missing person cases when it comes specifically to Native American women. There's a reason why. And if that reason has to be something that is terrifying to them, or they have no control over, they have no control over whatsoever, right? And they want to, they'll try to hide it. And this is the thing that gets me too. They'll try to hide it behind like domestic violence, or like, oh, you know, like there's alcohol problems on the res. There's not that much alcohol problem on the res for you not to track it, for you to ignore a statistic completely, right? There's not a lot. There's more to it there. And I swear, just from my interviews and talking to people and my own reading and comprehension, that there is something unique and special about Native American women that attracts these things, the not us's, right? There's something about it. I mean, I don't want to offend anybody on not calling them the right thing, but the things that aren't men, 100%, there is something about Native American women that they're drawn to, and they will just take them. They will just go in there and take them as well. Because a lot of these cases, if you go and, you know, get to any data on whatsoever, the woman's actually never found. She's just gone, right? She just disappears, right? And that's both terrifying, and I see why you carry, you know, armor-piercing 38 rounds with you as well, right? Donna, headshots are authorized. Donna, go. No warning shots, Donna. Go right for the head. Right, headshots are authorized. Right off the bat.
That's,
but yeah,
like I said, I have that. It's an old Army rifle. It's a 1917. It's an old Army rifle, it's a 303 in the armor piercer. So the shells are about this long.
Yeah.
And I am a very good shot. I'm not bragging on myself, but I've been taught, and I can literally blow up a motor block. You know, that baby, when it hits it. But this, I kind of theory with like that and the Watchers. I think that was Dad's way of protecting me. I don't know if he knew that, you know, I was going to be single. I have other brothers and sisters that could give two hoots, you know, never bothered whatsoever. And I've been taught that they can tell by the blood, you know, the Pacific, whatever. I've seen strange things in my lifetime, and they do have the ability to make you go to sleep. I've lost time, you know, before. I've never been hurt, you know, I've never been hurt in any way. But yeah, there is definitely something different. But my Watcher is my protector, you know. You know, like last year, we have another Bigfoot group that comes here for research. They've been coming here for years, and they actually had a really bad about 10 years ago. They went to a graveyard, and they actually did a show. It's actually on Terror in the Woods, Mike, and they got ran out. You know, they stepped on some toes there that shouldn't have been stepped on, and the Watchers came after them. Well, I'm friends with Mike Feltner retired, so Mike Miller is still carrying on, and I'm friends with them. And when they come, I will guide them to different areas. So, you know, I like them. They're good people. I don't have any problems with them. And last year I had taken them out to a location. Well, I took them to different ones, and the one location, because when I go out, I have a ceremony that I do. It's part of my Native American heritage. I always do a prayer. I ask for forgiveness and permission to be there. I have I make these little, they're little red bags. They're for the directions. I lay those out. And I carry cornmeal. It's my gift to Mother Earth. And, it's just tradition. I do the smudge. I do the thing. That's me being respectful to my people and to the watchers. And I did that this one night. We went out. I took him back deep into the woods. And the one girl that I was talking about that did the hike with me for the Dogman that we seen that, she was with us that night. And she wanted to kind of participate in my little ceremony. So we walked off by herself and did it because I'm respectful of other people. I don't push my belief on anybody. I don't argue no politics, no religion. I don't do that. I have my own thing. I know who I am. I believe in God. I believe in the Creator. The Creator created everything. I worship the woods, and the animals are sacred to me. It's not that God didn't create. I think God and the Creator is the same. But we did that, and as soon as I did my little thing, because it's pitch black, it's probably 1:00 in the morning, and we're in the woods, so it is pitch black. And we're no lights. We don't use lights. And as soon as I did, the red eyes came up, because I'm basically where I'm standing on top of this cliff. Underneath is some of my family burials are down in there. Because I still tend the burial mounds. That's my job now. My dad passed away. It's my job. And the eyes came up first, and then the orbs came. The big blue orbs came.
Oh, wow.
And they're shooting through, and she's just like, oh my gosh, she's freaking out. And so come on, we'll go back to where the others are, which wasn't too far away. We walked down, and Mike was sitting in the chair because he'll set a chair out, and they do calls and stuff. Behind his chair, I hear, now there's no wind, there's nothing moving, but behind his chair, I hear this, and I look, and there's a circle going around and around in the bush there. It's just like you would put a fan there. And now, mind you, we're back in the woods. There's nothing there, nothing electronic whatsoever. But it's going around and around and around, and the leaves are, and it just keeps going until there's a black circle opens, like this big around. Now, she's looking at it, and I'm looking at it, and I've never seen it before. I've never personally seen that happen. And she goes, what is that? What's causing that? What's doing that? And I'm like,
you got me grabbing my chair. Like, yeah, what is that?
Yeah. And, well, we're kind of nervous, giggle like, women. And so Mike says, what the heck are you laughing at? And when he turned, it stopped.
Wow.
But this was, this hole opened. And that was another thing that I still kind of, it must have been a portal opened. Which I've never, I never saw that. I don't know a lot about that kind of stuff. So, but
no, I think So there's a strong theory. I mean, there's a strong theory that there's two. As we close, I could talk to you for another hour, man. I'm so you got to come back on my show, Donna. You got to come back, please. You got to come back.
I will.
There's a strong theory that's divided a lot of researchers when they talk. You have the people who will just try to tell you that these beings, these watchers or whatever, they're just monkeys we haven't found, right? And there's a whole nother group of people that will say no, that these creatures are more spiritual and have abilities that we can't possibly comprehend, right? And when I've talked to people who were tracking Bigfoots in Alaska through like 6 foot, snow drifts, and the tracks just disappear, right? And there is a very large, again, a lot of researchers won't even entertain this, but there is another large correlation between Bigfoots and orbs. Bigfoot sightings and orbs usually cross intersect, and a lot of them come out of areas in the northwestern hemisphere of the United States of America and British Columbia in subdivisions. These aren't like people in like the woods, right? Like the subdivisions, right? People like, hey, look, I'm seeing orbs, and like, dang, there's a Bigfoot in the tree line over there, right?
Yep.
Wow, Donna. So that had to be something portal coming up. Wow. All right, we're coming up on time, Donna. I got you on record saying you're going to come back and talk to me some more, right? And
absolutely. I can, like I said, I just kind of touched the very tip of the pin.
Yeah.
With me, I'm in my 60s now, so I've been around for a little bit, and I've seen.
You've seen some. I created a word on my channel so I don't get fly. I call it fidukery. You've seen some fidukery, Donna?
Yes. And like I said, as far as the watchers, they're very intelligent. They are not these stupid. They're not these stupid animals. It's just, going around snatching people or whatever.
Yeah, no. So I've actually had a few. I've had a few. I've had a few people. I don't look like I'm from the Appalachian Mountain Range, but I'm actually from the Appalachian Mountain Range. So I look like I'm not there. When I go to some of these places and I get around people and we start talking, I've had conversations with them, and I know that they didn't really care for, in a polite way, sometimes in a not so polite way, about when I point that out, that these things are smart. Look at a base level, right? Again, at a common floor, they're not just sitting in trees eating leaves, bro, or screaming at. There is, and again, there is an intelligence at play here that I think surpasses ours. If you be honest, if I'm being honest with people, and I want to come down here, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was actually I had some guy. I call them concrete cowboys. I'm not trying to be
I'm going to use that.
But and he was telling me how stupid I was. I was like on drugs or hallucinating. I was stupid. I was retarded.
Right.
I said, "Listen, buddy, my IQ's 160. What's yours?"
Right.
I'm not. I'm very intelligent. I'm not seeing things. I've never. I don't drink because my dad taught me. He's like, never ever. And this was a rule. He said, never, ever do anything that can control you. You always stay in control because that is part of my protection.
Gotcha.
And I believe in, I got drunk one time in my life. Mm-hmm. One time. I broke every window in the house, every mirror, every reflecting surface there was. I don't know why, but I never did it again. And I was mad when I did it. I was young, mm-hmm. and it's like, nope. I'm gonna say where I know what I'm doing.
No doubt. Well, Donna, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Thank you so much for sharing the skimming the surface on those stories. That's amazing on there. And so, Donna, tell everybody about you. She guys, she doesn't have a YouTube channel or anything like that, guys, but she does have a Facebook. All that will be in the description of the video. Donna, do you want to plug your Facebook group real quick?
Well, I have a group on there. It's the Watchers Maidens. I put when I do my little field trips and different things, I put different stories on there. Some of the old ghost stories. It's kind of a mixture of all kind of stuff. Anybody has a question, wants to ask me, they can Facebook me or send me a friend's request. I'll answer, and as long as everybody, I will not tolerate disrespect. I will not do that. Anything, and I don't disrespect anybody else. Any question is not too stupid or make, I will never think you're crazy or anything. I will answer any question is the best of my ability and in a respectful manner. Anything I ask for is the same respect. That's all I ask.
Donna Copas don't take no mess. You'll get a hard switching, boys. So come in there with the correct attitude right now. And so you know how we do around here at this time, guys. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like it and you're a nerd or a loser, give it a thumbs down. But if you do give it a thumbs down, have the cojones to tell me the reasons why in the description below, and I will prove you wrong. Donna, thank you again for so much for coming around here. Give everybody one quick wave. And you know how we do around here, nerds. That's all you guys get for $1. And we're out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.